Obituary famed ski filmmaker Warren Miller thought a person's first turn on downhill skis was a first taste of total freedom. Warren A. Miller, the pioneering snow sports filmmaker whose infectious zeal for the pure freedom associated with skiing, snowboarding and other pursuits inspired multiple generations of adventure seekers around the globe, died Wednesday at his home on Orcas Island. He was 93. A quick-witted, self-taught filmmaker who first filmed his own scenes for an annual self-narrated ski movie shown in small venues. Mr. Miller produced more than 500 adventure sport films. His name, carried forward in a sports media company, Warren Miller Entertainment, from which he was disassociated in his later years, became synonymous with snow sports across North America. To his legions of fans, Mr. Miller's annual ski flick amounted to cinematic manna from heaven, an overdue shot of cold air and deep snow to stoke the fires within winter warriors who had suffered through the long, hot months of snowless summer. The films, most of which began with jaw-dropping alpine ski sequences, featuring top skiers and snowboarders delivered by helicopter to some knee-knocking heights and set to a pounding rock music beat, never failed to produce hooting, shouting and delirium among the snow-deprived faithful. The pumped-up atmosphere, Mr. Miller told the Seattle Times in 1985, was like showing a porno film on an aircraft carrier 6 days out of port. Watch the Seattle Times. Ron Judd asked 10 questions of the then 86-year-old filmmaker, ranging from his opinion on the greatest ski innovation to his most often quoted catchphrase. Read a 2010 Ron Judd column packed with especially fun Miller quotes. Read the Seattle Times review of Miller's autobiography. Read a 1995 Pacific NW magazine piece on Miller. Those films' first dulcet tones of Mr. Miller's trademark voice, so distinctive that his wife, Lori, forbade him from using it in ski lift lines, just to avoid the phoning, usually were greeted with similar passion. Mr. Miller's ski films were equal parts travelogue, majestic cinematography and slapstick. Popular recurring comedic themes included scenes of piled-up bodies at the off-ramp for a beginner's chairlift, set to campy music and ending with a lift attendant picking up some triple-jacketed rookie skis and poles and chucking them as far as they could be thrown. Mr. Miller's trademark punchline, still repeated in some lift lines today: "Want your skis? Go get 'em." But as the years progressed through more than 60 annual films, Mr. Miller's increasingly top-flight photographers went places no one else was going, filming scenes no one else captured. His productions in the 1980s and 1990s increasingly took viewers to exotic overseas locations, and featured big air jumpers such as Scott Schmidt, drawing concerns from some in the ski industry that the envelope was being pushed too far in terms of skier safety. His films included a world-class roster of skiing legends, including Otto Lang, Hannes Schneider, Stein Eriksen, Jimmy Huga, Billy Kidd and Jean-Claude Killy. Mr. Miller, at some turns, a vocal critic of increasing commercialization and high prices at major ski resorts, was known to spar with her owners who chafed at his depictions of decidedly non-sales material scenes such as long lift lines. Mr. Miller's reply, in typical dry fashion: "If you don't want pictures of lift lines, then don't have lift lines." His films often were attended by parents and their children, sometimes even 3 generations of devotees to snow sports, who agreed that winter had not begun until they'd seen Warren Miller's latest. Taken as a whole, the films were no less than a celebration of the sport, which Mr. Miller advocated as a burst of freedom and escape from stressful lives for people of all ages. Every film came with a trademark Mr. Miller challenge to audience members to throw caution to the wind and strap on some boards before their knees reached their lifetime capacity of bends. In a 2010 interview with The Times, Mr. Miller suggested he would be pleased if that get up and go mantra stood as his legacy. "I really believe in my heart that first turn you make on a pair of skis is your first taste of total freedom, the first time in your life that you could go anywhere that your adrenaline would let you go," Mr. Miller said at age 86. "And I show that in my films. I didn't preach it. But once you experience that freedom, I'd personally narrate that show over 100 times a year, and I came to the conclusion that man's search for freedom is embedded in our genes. That's what everybody wants." As he aged, Mr. Miller turned the cameras, then most of the production work, over to specialists in his company, which in 1989 was acquired by his son, Kurt, and partner Peter Speak. They sold the film company in 2001 to Time Incorporated. It has changed hands several times. Mr. Miller's involvement with the film company, WIC,